$60 threshold, so it's currently around $71 per barrel, which is good news for Nigeria. We've also seen FAC that was going to be disbursed this month actually increased to 655 billion naira, which is like a 3.5-year high, the highest since June 2014. We've also seen on-grid power increase by about 0.67% to about 3,700 megawatts. And then yesterday, we found out that the African Development Bank plans to increase its exposure to Nigeria by about 33% to over $8 billion by 2019. So those are the burning issues right now in the Nigerian economy. Yes,
the burning issues also include the price of Brent crude, but I like that. The FAC allocation is a lot of money, and when it comes in, we have an idea where it goes. So part of the good news from your team is that the salary arrears are likely to be cleared, and once salaries are cleared, we know where it goes to.
Okay, let's put this into context. First of all, the FAC amount that was shared is good news. That's a high amount, but it's just about 2.7% of money supply. So first of all, you have to look at it. What's the impact on the markets? So in terms of the market, obviously, like I said, it's just about 2.73% of money supply. But in the last 10 trading days, we've seen that the central bank has mopped up about 900 billion naira. So basically, this 655 is like a refund of it. So when money comes in, you might see interest rates drop marginally, but then pick up again. Now, what's the impact on the consumer? Like you said, salary arrears. So we expect state governments to earn more, which is good news for them. If the money is spent efficiently, we expect to see salary arrears cleared in the short term to medium term. And also in terms of like the government's fiscal revenue as a whole, if we continue to see this increase in FAC, then definitely the need to borrow becomes less. The pressure to borrow becomes less because our fiscal deficit will narrow. And then also even for our export receipts, we receive significant amount of our foreign reserves from oil. So right now, approximately $40 billion. If this continues, we get to see...
This accretion is $71.25 a barrel early this morning. And we clean glasses here when it cost 70. I decided not to clean glasses anymore because but 71 is good. 71 That's significantly higher than our threshold, even for 2017 and 2018 appropriations. But again, when salaries arrears are paid, folks go to the market. This is January. Folks pay salary. They pay their rents. School fees.
Well, yes.
Yes.
And well, what we've seen, like you mentioned also, obviously, as like if the money is efficiently disbursed, so we expect to see an increase in the purchasing power of consumers. So they can consume more, they'll be able to demand for more. So what does that mean for the domestic commodity market? Obviously, that increase in demand should affect prices. But the thing also is that on one hand, yes, we expect demand to increase, but also manufacturers, people that are being paid all their outstanding obligations, they can now produce more because they have more funds. So by and large, it balances out at the end of the day. And what the economy needs right now is an increase in aggregate demand.
But the poison in the chalice is energy.
Yes,
which is basically now we're back to fuel scarcity and why energy cost is still look at your market data and see prices still remain flat across board for some of the consumer goods. So whether this money from FAC comes in or not, it's not likely that shelf prices will go down.
There's a time lag effect.
The time lag effect is not now.
There's a time lag effect, and like we said, this money most likely will be disbursed in the next couple of days, and we're already close to the end of January. So we might not necessarily see the impact of this FAC on the January inflation numbers. If at all, what should or would affect the inflation numbers for January will be more about the fuel scarcity, which has persisted from December even until now. And if you notice, we didn't feel the impact on the December numbers. And that's because, again, you have to put into context, the trucks that bring these food supplies, these commodities from the rural areas to the urban areas are diesel-powered, not fuel. So that's why, again, you might not necessarily see that impact. But the thing is that, obviously, once there's an increase in fuel, everyone takes advantage of it and increase the price.
And raise prices.
Yes.
So the throughput, as if you want to put it that way, of the December-January persistent petrol scarcity may be coming through March.
We might see it. We might even see it much earlier than, yes, we might see it much earlier than March. We might see it in February. So, and again, transport costs just form a component of the consumer price index. So you have to also factor in what the other components will do. So, for instance, we've seen food prices stabilize so far this month. If we see declines in other aspects, it might negate or counter the impact of transport costs. So we have to put everything into context.
Have we been a little bit okay as far as energy is concerned?
Okay. Right now, as in, like we reported in one of our burning news, that we've seen average power from the on-grid increase by about 0.27. But on the average, like if you look at 2017, on the average, the power supply or generated was between 3,500 megawatts to 3,700 megawatts. The statement that you read earlier about it reaching an all-time high of 7,000, that was an intraday position. So, but on the average, we've seen power stabilize, which it's good news, but the challenges are still there. And what we've noticed that most of the constraints, about 3,000 to 3,500 megawatts, are actually from the constraints. So imagine if you are producing 3,700 and you have about 2,000 gas constraints. So that gas, meaning that gas power has been constrained, is not getting to the end user. We also have transmission constraints. There's also water constraints. So power has been relatively stable, but remember in the last couple of days there was like a national shutdown. So we need investment in that sector.
So the fact that yes, we generated 7,000, we're not transmitting everything.
Yeah, we're not transmitting everything. And if you look at the Q3 report that the NBA has released for the foreign trade report, we realized that about 450 billion naira was given to the power sector, as in banking sector credit to the power sector was about 450 billion. That's small compared to what was given to oil and gas and manufacturing, which was about 2 trillion naira. So we still need funds in that sector.
Still a lot of gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Just making those burning issues more burning. We have a lot more burning. Damilola Akibami from Financial Derivatives. We have a lot of more burning issues. We got a statement from the former president. Now we have a response on the table. And we have data. The Minister of Information decided to stick to the side of the economy. And that's where we are sticking as well in this discussion. We'll be right back in 2.